Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Heather Pead and this is our family channel. I'm going to do a little bit of a different video today, something I'm nervous about but I wanted to talk about for a while. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month. I started thinking about how I wanted to share a little bit about my journey with anxiety and depression. So just starting off, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but I just wanted to share my experiences and what I have found helpful. And also, I'm always really grateful when other people share about their anxiety and depression, because there's this connection of feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. And if you do suffer from anxiety or depression or other mental health things, you know that that feeling of I feel alone can happen very easily. Growing up, I knew as a kid, like, I would get stressed out really easily, but I always kind of felt like anxiety was like this extreme thing, and I didn't want to have anxiety, right? So I would be like, no, I don't have that, and just kind of say that that wasn't something I experienced. I even remember having times where I went through really, really hard things. I have trauma from my childhood. I've lost family members. So my brother Chris passed away when I was in junior high, and my dad, they both passed away in the same accident. And it was a plane crash. That was very, very hard to try to sort through, especially being I was about to go into 9th grade. That was really a really hard thing to process, and I feel like my brain was able to kind of set that aside and be like, okay, you have a kid brain right now, like a child brain, so we're just gonna kind of like put away this trauma for now and dealing with death at such a young age, and we'll deal with it later. So I thought I was handling things really well, and I think I was, honestly, for the amount of trauma that I had experienced, because having 2 deaths in the family, especially at such a young age, one of them a brother I was really close with, and the other one a parent, that was really, really hard to deal with. So as time went on and I grew up, and even like into high school and my college years, I always thought of myself as like this bright, happy person, right? Like, I loved colorful things and rainbows and Disney and glitter. And so again, I was like, you know, maybe there's times I get really stressed out, but I'm not someone who has depression or anxiety, because those things are darker, or like, I just didn't quite understand that anyone can have it. And it doesn't matter what someone looks like from the outside, they can have a lot of things going on the inside. I feel like I was able to like still like push down anxiety and depression, and just kind of like always kind of like grit my teeth and get through it, right? And I hadn't gone to therapy, I had never needed medication, I just kind of always would get through any hard times that I had. So after I had Kenzie, my first daughter, I definitely started feeling that sleep deprived, just really hard time in the newborn stage. I was struggling with it, but I kind of thought, oh, this is what every mom feels. And the newborn phase is hard. I don't care who you are, it's hard. Babies are crying all night, they're up all night. They need to be nursed all night, like, and nursing is a whole thing. So I remember being like, oh my gosh, my head doesn't feel normal, I'm tired, I'm stressed, I'm trying to keep this tiny little baby alive, and I'm worried I'm gonna like fail at what I'm doing. And I feel like that was one of the biggest episodes of depression that I had had as an adult. But again, I was able to kind of like push through it. Eventually, my daughter started sleeping through the night. Something I didn't realize, that when she was a baby, my first daughter, I would get really lightheaded, and I remember my vision was being affected. And there were times that I was like, whoa, everything's going dark right now. and I can't see, and like it would happen when I got really stressed, but I thought there was something like physical happening to me. I was like, oh my gosh, like my eyesight or something. I remember going to an eye doctor, and I was carrying my baby daughter, and she was crying, and I was like trying to calm her down, and I was explaining everything, and I was like, listen, there's something wrong with my eyes. I really need you to figure it out because I'm really struggling here. And that doctor was like, I don't think this is an eye issue. After he, saw me with my crying baby, he's like, I think this has to do with stress and being sleep deprived. So eventually I got through that period of time. My daughter started sleeping through the night, and I started to feel like myself again, and I kind of thought, oh, that was just like something that happened while she was little. I'm good. I'm past that. Yay, that was like a dark time. We'll just like leave it over there. So with my second daughter, we had just moved to Boston. My husband had started school there. He was going to the Harvard Kennedy School. Just like, intense because he's starting school. We just moved from Utah to Boston. So I was already very anxious without realizing that I had anxiety. And we were doing great. I delivered my second baby out there, and I was like, okay, we're doing this. We're doing all the things. And she was born in fall. And it was still hard, but I was like, I'm okay. It wasn't until after the holiday season into like January and February, I had a toddler. I had a baby who was nursing and not sleeping through the night. And I was in Boston, away from family. I did have friends in a support group, but I also, feeling so tired and run down, I didn't really want to leave my house. I didn't want to socialize. It was cold. It was hard to load up kids. So we spent a lot of time in a small space, and I'll never forget, and I'm going to get emotional because this is when I was like, the first time I realized, no, something is really not right now. And it was hard to explain, and it was scary. I was like, I feel like I can't go through the day without feeling like I was like literally shaking and scared, and I didn't know I had anxiety. So I was like, what is this? What am I feeling? I don't understand what this is. I went to go see my OB, and I was like, I don't like how I feel right now. I don't feel like Heather. This is really scary. And she told me that I had postpartum depression, which was hard to hear because I always thought, no, I'm not that person. I'm like a very happy person. I don't suffer from that. I'm stronger than that, which is totally incorrect. Like, I realize now that's a complete incorrect way of thinking. I think the people who suffer with depression and anxiety and are able to keep going, they are strong. I'm like, that's so hard. That means you're strong. Like, if you can admit it and face it and work through it, that's what being strong is. That was the first time where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to admit I have anxiety. And that was a big moment for me because I felt that was really hard to accept. And I felt like the other moms in my life didn't have anxiety. And so why was I struggling with this? And I'm a strong person. Again, not realizing that being strong is being able to work through anxiety and depression. I was able to get on a low dose of a antidepressant to help me through that time, and I'm so grateful for that. And it was hard because I felt embarrassed about that. I was so scared to start a medication, but that pulled me, that was like the first step in pulling me out of this really scary place where I felt shaky. I couldn't eat. I felt like I could never relax. I could never just get to like a resting place and relax. It's hard because there's a lot of pieces to my personal story. A little bit later, after that, I had another brother who passed away, and that was really hard. So right now, I've had two brothers who have passed away, and my dad, And it's a lot to work through. That's a lot of trauma and things that can trigger you into feeling scared and alone and sad. And so for me, I've had to work through a lot of this stuff. When we moved back to Utah, and just as a side note, I had gone through like spouts of anxiety, and it would like flare up and then it would go away and flare up and go away, and I didn't feel in control of it. And so I would kind of just be like, just get through it, like just get it to go away. I always felt like I was running from my anxiety. That was a terrible place to be in, because I felt like I was constantly like, oh my gosh, it's gonna get me, like the anxiety's coming. And it would feel like, again, like I couldn't relax. I didn't want to do the things that I usually love doing, like writing or making YouTubes or just being my personality, which is like going out and doing fun things. I didn't feel like myself again. It's weird. It's like this dark cloud that sits over you, and it's like your happiness, you want it to be there, and it's like there's this dark cloud sitting over it, and it's like, no, oh my gosh, what is this feeling? And for me, it's a very physical feeling. So it's like chest tightening. I won't be able to take a deep breath, which makes me feel lightheaded. And its worst cases in the past, I have felt like super shaky. My appetite, I don't want to eat, which is crazy. I love eating. And so it's a very like scary physical thing for me. It wasn't until I moved to Utah and I was suffering from anxiety again, and I reached out to a friend and I was like, I don't know what to do, like it just keeps coming back. And when I'm not feeling anxious, I feel like I'm this like happy mom and I'm who I want to be, and then when it comes back, it just like sucks everything out of me, and I feel sad and depressed, and what do I do about this? And it was my friend, she changed my life. She told me, I think you should go to therapy. In the past, I thought about therapy and was hesitant. It's just kind of scary. You go to someone, you have to open up. I was at a point where I was like, I'm done. Like, I want to figure out why my body is doing this. I want to work through it. Okay. And actually, I had, I think, 2 other people in the same week. So 3 people total were like, I think you need to go to therapy, which normally might be like sound offensive, but for me, I was like, I've had 3 friends tell me that I should do this. I'm gonna give it a try. I went into that first therapy appointment and it was incredible. And I know that everyone has such a different experience with therapy. I was hesitant because I had gone once to like a counseling session in Boston, and it was not at all what I wanted it to be, and it felt like scary, and it was just an experience where I felt like it was more like, well, why do you feel this way? What's going on? Almost like an interrogation. And I was like, I don't know what's happening. Going to a good therapist for me feels like sitting down, feeling safe, having someone listen and validate and help you understand the connections that you can't make. So when I first went in, I didn't know how to make those connections. Like, I always had a super restless leg when I got anxiety, and it was like one leg, and it was so weird. And I would like at night, it would just like my calf would go crazy. I'm like, why is my leg so restless? It's connected to anxiety. Something that could be triggering me that week can have all these like physical, can make different physical things happen for my body, like not being able to take a deep breath or feeling shaky or having restless legs. So, as I take a deep breath, I have been going to therapy now, oh my gosh, for like 2 years, I think. It is the most incredible thing for me. It's been so helpful. And I have a hard time saying that because I know that I got really lucky. I got a great therapist, and she was able to, I mean, I'm still working through this stuff. I still have days where I feel a lot of emotions. I feel a lot of hard things, especially when I'm thinking about my two brothers and dad who have passed away. There's a lot of things that can be triggering and can make sometimes those days seem so heavy and so hard. I feel like when I go to therapy, my therapist is able to break it down, to help me see connections, to help me make progress, to work through it. I never thought I would be able to feel like, okay, my anxiety is under control. And a part of that was really, really hard was accepting. For so long, I thought I could beat anxiety. I thought I could run away from it. I thought I could hide from it or push it away. It wasn't until I started going to therapy that she helped me to realize this is going to be a part of my life. This is part of who Heather is. I am someone who struggles with anxiety and depression. But there are tools and ways to work through it and have it be manageable. There's still a way to live a very happy life. In that was accepting this is something that is going to be with me. I was listening to a podcast with Jenna Fisher from Office Ladies. It's a podcast. Jenna Fisher plays Pam on The Office. And her and Angela from The Office are best friends in real life. I loved how she put this. She said, I have anxiety, and what it feels like is that every day of my life, I will have a backpack on that represents anxiety. Some days the backpack will be heavier than others. Sometimes it's really light and it's like I can barely feel it. But the backpack will always be with me. And I loved it because Angela, her best friend, was saying, sometimes I say, how heavy is the backpack today? How heavy is it? And I love, that's the perfect way of explaining anxiety. It will always be a part of me. It is a part of my life. Sometimes it's so light, I don't even notice it's there. Other days, it is heavy and it takes more work for me to do things that maybe people who don't have anxiety or depression could do things and it wouldn't be as hard for them. But just that like acceptance of it was groundbreaking for me. And I'm just so grateful to have had a positive experience with therapy. And I know that not everyone does. For me, it was a part of like accepting that I have anxiety and depression and being able to open up and talk about hard things. And I know that there's like the cliche saying of like the rain cloud and after the rain comes the rainbow. But it is true. And in the past, I feel like I used to be like, no, I'm all rainbows. I'm all rainbows. I'm no storm clouds. And now I'm like, no, I am the storm cloud and then there can be a rainbow and that is life. And for me, that is just a part of being human. Anyway, this video was long. That's been my experience. I'm still working through it, but I feel this like sort of freedom that I felt so scared in the past and so nervous that I was alone, that nobody understood, that I was like weird and something was wrong with me and I was embarrassed about it, and that I didn't have any control. It could pop up whenever I wanted. Now, to be able to be like, I do struggle with anxiety and depression, but I'm working through it. And it's a continual process. To have those tools, to have a therapist who can say, when you're feeling this, try this. And just to be able to talk through, because there's certain things that are triggers that I'll be like, I don't know why this is frustrating me. And to have a therapist break it down and be like, it's because it connects back to this, has just been so helpful. I feel like depression and anxiety are so much more common than people realize. If you have anxiety or depression, you are not alone. You are not alone, and there are tools to help. And I can tell you that now when I feel it, it's a different experience, and I know everything's gonna be okay. So that's my journey. That's where I'm at right now. It's still something I work through, but that acceptance has been huge. I also have a support system of friends who understand that anxiety and depression, and they can be like, okay, how's it feeling today? And it's like a very safe place where I can talk about it if I am having a hard day, and just like have that support. That's been my journey with it, and everyone has their own struggles. I hope it was helpful to someone, and even if you don't have it, to be able to like reach out or be sympathetic to someone who does suffer with it, and just be a friend or someone who can listen. Anyway, thanks for joining for today's video, and I'll see you guys on another video soon. I hope you guys have a great day.